had been curious about the Orient Kamasu for quite some time. I understood why it was such a good value play. Mechanical watch, 200-meter water resistance, screw-down crown, pretty good looking all things considered, and a sapphire crystal for just a little over $200. I didn't know any other watches in that price point that could compete with it. So when I finally decided to pull the trigger and pick one up from Joma's shop for a mere $210, I bought it with the intention of comparing it with my Timex Navi XL and my Seiko Samurai. It hadn't really occurred to me that I'd end up liking the watch that much. After all, I have a couple divers that are well over $1,000 and one in particular that retails for $3,500. These are relatively high quality items, and I thought that I would find this to be just something of interest to talk about, but not something that I genuinely enjoy. Very few people deliberately set out to be a watch snob, but as my collection has grown and the pieces in my collection have grown and become more expensive, I find myself looking at $200, $300 watches less than I used to. Whenever I purchase a new watch, with the intent of talking about it on the channel, I usually wait a week or two and I wear it a lot. I want to be informed. I want to have the lived-in experience. And to be truthful, I thought with this watch, among others, that it would be a bit of a chore, that I would have to deliberately put on the Orient and not put on some other watch that I prefer. I quickly realized I was wrong. I fitted the watch to my wrist, and it fit perfectly. The inky green dial is borderline black in most light and pops in the sunlight, but it's kind of almost like having more than one watch because it's different colors depending on what room you're in or whether you're indoors or outdoors. The Kamasu is a stainless steel 200-meter diver with a 41.8 millimeter case, 12.8 millimeters thick, with a 22 millimeter lug width, and a very comfortable 46.8 millimeter lug-to-lug measurement. My experience has been that when you buy a more affordable watch, you usually give up something, and one of those things is the dimensions won't work out quite the way you want them to. It'll be too thick, the lug-to-lug will be too long, something. But this fits very well on my wrist, and I imagine very well on a lot of wrists. So as the first week progressed into the second, I found myself pleasantly surprised that as I reached for the Orient every morning, I was happy to do so. It's comfortable, it's handsome, and it feels like a more expensive watch. Don't get me wrong, it's not a $1,000 watch. This is not a $1,000 bracelet. And one of the markers of less expensive watches is probably also one of my least favorite complications: the day-date window at 3 o'clock. This is the only watch I have, and I think maybe the only watch I've ever bought that has this complication. It's one of my least favorites, but it doesn't seem to bother me this time. I think the reason is twofold. A, I just like the watch, and B, it's the only watch I have with this particular complication, so it's not bothering me as much. So I guess this brings me to the question. We're all at different points in our journey as watch enthusiasts and watch collectors, or even just being watch curious. And while this will never be the crown jewel of the collection that I have, it is certainly a watch that I enjoy having and am happy to have. But if you're in a different place in your journey with watches, if a $210 expenditure is a significant expenditure, do I recommend this watch? Well, yeah, I kind of do. I don't really recommend you get the green if you're going to wear it with a lot of different outfits. It's not particularly versatile as a color, but they have a red, they have a blue, and they have a black, and of course black goes with everything. This watch is spec'd out pretty nice. You'll always know what the day is, what the date is. You're going to know what the time is. It's not the most accurate watch I've ever seen. It runs about plus 15 seconds a day, and that's normal for a watch of this quality. But that just gives you reason to fiddle with the crown and fiddle with your watch and make sure it's set close to the time. Something I actually enjoy doing. And like I said, this isn't a $1,000 watch. It's not a $1,000 bracelet, but it's pretty good and it's pretty solid. You can take it in the ocean, splash around, and it'll be great. It's got pretty good lume. It's not the best lume, but it's pretty good. At this price point, it's excellent. It's comparable to Seiko lume. Maybe not quite as good as you're going to get on some of the better Seikos, but it's pretty good. It keeps decent time. It looks good on the wrist. The sapphire crystal won't scratch, albeit the bezel probably will over time. But watches are meant to be worn, and I can recommend, in good faith, you can wear this one pretty much every day if you want. I was surprised by how much I liked the Orient Kamasu, and I think maybe you will be too. Thank you for watching.